Hello and welcome everybody. So, importantly, before we go any further with this is your final spoiler warning before we get into the main video. This video will contain spoilers either in the video itself, so please minimize that if you don't want to see that, or it may also contain them in the audio form. I will try to make sure I put a big old spoiler warning and a couple of seconds of delay before I actually say anything, but take that as your forewarning. With that said, though, we're going to be talking about Ghost Recon Wildlands. First review on the channel, and a game I'm actually really happy with, and it's kind of one of the reasons why that I'm putting it out a bit earlier than I'd like to. I wanted to kind of wait a little bit on this one, but I couldn't wait to talk about it, honestly. So, first of all, let's just talk about the game in a general sense. So, first of all, the game is very much a Ubisoft game. So you know what that means? That means if you played Assassin's Creed or you played Far Cry, you're probably going to be very familiar with what this game has to offer for you. It's going to be a lot of going around collecting things. There's no towers, apart from the ones that people are shooting at you from, but you are going to be collecting a lot of things to make a lot of other things and to make your guns better. So bear that in mind. If you're worn out on open world games or Ubisoft games in general, maybe give this one a miss for a little while. Other than that, though, it's a really good game. It's not amazing, don't get me wrong, but it's pretty reasonable for what it is. It's a little bit buggy. I had a couple of issues. The main one I had was when you're on the map screen sometimes and you put down a waypoint. If it's in a different area to you, you'll very regularly, at least from my experience, get crashed out of game. I don't know why. I can't figure it out. I put in a number of crash and bug reports for it whenever it's happened, but it happened in the beta and it happened in live. I don't know why, but sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. It's weird. Other than that, though, it's a nice game, though. That's the thing I want to really stress. It's a nice game. It's not terrible, it's not amazing, but it's a definite good game. I think there's nothing wrong with that as well. I think people need to understand that being a good game is not bad, obviously, but it's not the end of days. It just means it's not super standout. It's fine, not every game can be. Other than that, though, let's go on to a little bit more specific, the character customization. Now, as a preface, by the way, the character you see me using just now, this is my try-hard character. This is a bit of character I basically came up with when I was playing in the beta. The thing that's going to be happening down the road, apparently, is we're going to have PvP. If we're using our characters in that, I want to make sure the character I put the most time into, that is the best level, that is pretty much the one I'm happy with and have everything with, is my try-hard one. So I don't have to go and try hard on a second character. Makes sense to me. As a result, I've done all the usual things that I do for games like DayZ and any other kind of even semi-competitive shooter game, which is make female characters, as they tend to have smaller hitboxes, darker skin because it tends to work better, although in this case, if you're using thermal, it won't make a difference, so. But also the face paint, if you can see that whenever I turn the camera around, you'll see I've also kind of got the face paint to block out a lot of the colour and kind of blend it a bit more. It looks really good. Also got another a clothing setup for my character, which is ghillie suited and all that kind of fun stuff for, the total stealth. At the moment, though, it's all cosmetic, so, it's fine. Make a character you like and enjoy playing with at the moment. If, like me, you want to be super, mega competitive, weird like that, make the character you want to do for that one there. Other than that, though, the character customization's a little threadbare. There isn't a ton of it. You basically get effective, I think it's like 10 different presets, at least on the female character. About 10 or so different presets you can pick from, which give you a general face shape and skin colour. Other than that, though, you're pretty much doing things like scars, war paint, tattoos, this kind of stuff. Not anything super duper ridiculous, no Black Desert or whatever kind of level customization, which I'm honestly glad for. I'm sick of having to play around with sliders to make something amazing. It's good in some games. I don't want to have it in every game. I just spend too much time at those screens otherwise. Clothing and accessories on it, again, there's a good range of the clothing. Like, the clothing is pretty decent. I'm actually really surprised by it. Again, for having so few presets originally, I suppose, that you can pick from, I was quite surprised when you could go for all these different kind of clothing. And I'm glad they have it there. And also the different colorations and the camos and just all of this kind of stuff. It feels really nice. Again, it's not amazing, it's nice, it's good. Again, solidly in the middle, I would say. Weapon customization though, oh my word. The inner gun nerd in me loved that. Like, seriously. You'll see it at some point in the upcoming video, or in the video coming up shortly, I believe. But it basically gives you an exploded view of your weapon, which has all the different pieces that you can customize. So things like the stock, the scope, the rail, the magazine, all this kind of stuff. All of that exploded out, and it just looks really nice. Like, it feels good. Like, there's no other way to really describe it. It's just such a nicely made little scene. It's nice. Again, nice. I'm using that word a lot, but that really is it. It's again, not super amazing. There is a criticism I have for it, but it's nice. It's solidly average, but that is nice. That one bit there, good. I would say a little bit above average, in fact, for the weapon customization. The thing that lets it down is this. And again, you'll see this when I pull up the screen. It has stats to it, so each part you change out will change the stats. It'll increase your accuracy, it'll decrease handling, it'll increase damage, it will, all these little things here. The thing is, they use a very the set of words they use for it. So accuracy, yeah? Accuracy. If you increase your accuracy, what you're doing, you're making things, well, more accurate. My English teacher would hate that, but you clearly understand what the concept of accuracy is. If you increase the accuracy of something, you make it able to hit better. It's more one-to-one. What you point at is what it gets shot by, in this case, yeah? Makes sense. Great. When you have something called handling, I mean, I'm going to say it probably improves the handling, right? But what does that actually mean? So, from playing around with it, I figured out it seems as though it's not your movement speed from side to side, but kind of first of all, how you handle recoil seems to be a little bit better on weapons that have higher handling. So, maybe it's to do with recoil dampening of weapons. Okay, fair enough. I've seen some people mention that it's heavier weapons have better handling, so maybe it's a bit of absorbing recoil because of that, and that's just how it works out. It's like, okay, but it's not clear, and that's the annoying thing. Like damage, guess what that does? It makes things hit harder. Accuracy, it makes them hit what you point at. Range, it makes them shoot further. Again, all pretty self-explanatory. Noise reduction is an odd little one. And this is the thing I do like about it. The suppressors in the game, as I realised annoyingly very late into the game, are not really needed. You think they're needed because it's just like, oh, it's a suppressor. Like every other game out there, the suppressor, it makes your shot silent. It doesn't. It doesn't do that at all. It does what an actual suppressor does, or at least an approximation to it. It will... how to word it properly. It reduces the noise, hence noise reduction, of your weapon. The higher your noise reduction, the closer you can shoot your weapon to an enemy without them hearing it. If it's not the person you're shooting, obviously. If you shoot someone with it, they shouldn't hear it at all. But it's something you don't really think about until you've played the game for a little while, at least in my case. And you start thinking, hold on a minute, why has the guy heard me? I've just shot a suppressed weapon. And you realise, oh, I'm shooting a suppressed weapon, but this game actually takes a realistic model to silencers and suppressors, and it's not making it silent, it just reduces the noise it makes. That's pretty cool. The thing is, you then realise, okay, I can just whack a compensator on this and make the gun more accurate, handle better, not impede the damage, all this kind of stuff just gets made better. And you realise, I don't actually need a suppressor anymore. And you start to realise, I could have had a much better weapon for the last, well, for the first half of this game, had I realised this. But again, it's things not being worded clearly, and I'd like if they kind of had it up there and said, hey, this is what this stat does, or you can at least hover over and choose what it does. You can kind of work through piece by piece on certain ones and kind of say, well, it has a massive increase to your handling, and it says it improves mobility. This is the kind of stuff you kind of got to work with to make this make sense, and it's not great, but it works. Okay, I'll live with it. The world. I mean, you see me flying around the world a little bit in the background there. It's a really good world. Like, it looks reasonable, and I should say the graphics that I'm using in the background are just my standard. I'm playing the game, I'm happy with this as kind of what I'm looking at there. I don't have my graphics set to high on pretty much any game I play. Like, I play Overwatch, for example, I have that cranked pretty much to nothing there. I can have it running much higher than that if I want, but I don't. I want something which is a lot less clutter on the screen. It's probably the best way to put it. And that's what I go for. And it doesn't look amazing, but the game itself does. When you crank it all the way up, it looks pretty damn good, let's put it that way. And I'm sure there's videos out there on YouTube of people who have it cranked up to, 120 frames and, all of this stupid high-end, ultra-high spec, change the INI files and, make it look glorious. I'm sure there's people out there who have that. I don't want that. Like, that's not what I need. And again, the competitive-ish game, or at least one that can potentially have a competitive element to it with the PvP coming, it's something that I'm not really interested in getting myself into. I want to learn the game at what I'm going to be playing it as. So I want it to be kind of the level where I can see as little foliage as possible. I want to see this person, as quickly as possible, kind of thing. That's just the way I think about it. But it's worth knowing that, because what you're seeing on the screen is not going to be 100% representation of what you'll see. This is going to be what I see, because this is my customized settings from, I think it's a high setting, but there is very high, I think there's an ultra setting if I remember rightly, which is basically maxed out on everything. But I've turned off things like the motion blur and God rays and all this kind of stuff that you don't really need, but they put in there anyway. But the game looks really nice, and it feels quite alive. Like, a lot of the characters, I'm sure it's just the way they've programmed things to work around you within a certain distance, but it kind of feels like if I wasn't there, some things would still be going on. Like, occasionally I'll be going around and I'll see rebel forces fighting with Unidad, or fighting with the cartel. I'll find the cartel fighting with Unidad all of a sudden. I don't know why it happens, but it does. It just feels like there's something going on there. They were there together at one point and there was this uneasy standoff, and then all of a sudden something went horribly wrong. It feels like that's kind of there and going on in the background when I'm not there. I don't know if it is, it probably isn't. It's probably just the way it happens to have worked out for me. That's why I feel, though. The audio design is really nice as well. Again, a lot of this game, good. Solid work across the board. Nothing really laying it down as far as I can see, apart from a couple of bugs. Games have bugs. It's the first week. It has not even been out for a week at this point. It is the 12th of March at this point. So, what can you do? We are... Let's see... Audio design, yeah. Here's the thing. With audio design, it's really difficult to comment on. It felt good, and this is the reason why. Because I didn't notice it. And the reason I say that is, if you don't notice audio design, it means nothing is jarring you. You're in the experience, you're involved in what's around you. So I think having nothing bad to say about the audio design is a pretty damn good sign that they did a good job with it. The radio station in-game, oh my Christ, I could do without that. I need an option to just turn that off in every car automatically, please. Ubisoft, just help me out with this. I'm so sick of hearing that radio station every single time, and I get that it's there for a reason. I get it's meant to be terrible, probably. But oh my god, I'm so sick of hearing it, honestly. Again, I played 43 hours of this game in 5 days. I'm just sick of it. I've never turned the radio station off quicker in any game. I think I turned it off probably in the first hour or so of playing the game. I was done with it. I occasionally left it on for snippets here and there where I would hear something, somewhat relating to the story come on the radio. It was all good and I had a little laugh about it, but I turned it straight back off. The music was atrocious. Obviously, it's sort of meant to be, I guess. But, I don't know. Maybe that's just my preference to the genres. Anyway, that aside. So, before we go on to spoilers, let's have a general summary. So, it's a good game. There's nothing outstanding about it yet, but there's nothing atrocious about it. I picked it up for about £40, $39.99 if you want to get exact, which was the pre-order, like the day before of it coming out. And from what I've seen, the only thing I haven't got in the game is the microtransaction items, which are effectively the kind of items you'll get when you defeat bosses, which are pre-modified with a skin applied to them, so it's nothing massive. You're just missing a skin for a gun, basically. Anything else you could basically make up yourself by putting the right items on it. You can purchase packs which have boosters for XP, but this way you don't need it. I got given 3 of them for doing the pre-order. I used 1 of them, which was a 2-hour long one, and that was it. I didn't feel a need to put any other ones on there. Honestly, it came so naturally. Like, I was maxed out at level 30 is the max currently. I was maxed out easily about 20 hours, 25 hours or so into the game. So yeah, you do not need that at all. Not at all. Let's see. So yeah, microtransactions, not an issue. Do not worry about them. At least as far as I'm concerned. You can buy badges for your, cosmetic items basically for your character. Again, you don't need them. They could potentially, depending how PvP works, give you a slight advantage if they get a certain type of item. The way the game works is if you have the thermal view, which you may have seen me click on once or twice here, the thermal view will show things like your skin. So any exposed skin will show bright orange and bright yellow kind of thing. That's bad. Obviously, if you're trying to find someone in shrubbery, that's a good thing to flick on, yeah? But if they have any kind of clothing, it darkens that right down. So it's pretty much like a blue or kind of a light blue colour maybe. It gets very dark effectively and blends in pretty well. As long as all the clothing basically covers you completely, you're fine. And I'm pretty sure that's things like the ghillie suits, which you already have access to. So again, there's no issue with that. Let's see, other than that, I mean, again, I've got about 43 hours in there. I've got a couple of collectibles still to pick up there. I'm going to say probably about 50 plus hours on the single player alone. If you're doing 100% unlocks of everything, that's your weapon accessories, your weapons themselves, all the Kingslayer files, all the missions, literally just 100% everything. You can do that in probably 50 hours plus. Maybe a bit less than that. Again, I mean, I've done the majority of it in 43. I could probably spend another couple of hours and get the last of those files. But I'm worn out of it now, honestly. I've played this game for, again, the last 5 days straight. I'm taking a little break for it. I'm enjoying the last day of my holiday. Other than that, though, if you're not trying to 100% everything, I think roughly about somewhere around 25 to 30 hours in there. I mean, I had the option to go and complete the story, like the main storyline. Thing is, and actually no, I'll leave that for the spoiler section in a moment. So actually, yeah, that leads on quite nicely. Right, big warning. I'm now going to talk about the ending to the game. If you do not want to know about that, that's fine. Thank you for watching the video, and I will see you guys in the next one. I'm going to talk about the ending, and I'm going to play one of the Kingslayer file items that you may or may not have found in your playthrough. It's not exactly hidden, but it's one that's good to hear because it tells you a lot about the story. I will see you in the next video, hopefully. I hope you've enjoyed. Make sure you like the video. Comment down below. Tell me what you think of the ending of the game if you've played it. And subscribe to the channel if you want to see more videos. spoilers. There are two endings to the game. There is a good and a bad ending. I like the bad ending. I don't like the good ending. I understand the reason the good ending happens the way it does, but we'll talk more on that in a moment. So, what happens in the bad ending, the one you're most likely to get if you're playing through the game in general? Basically, if you complete with less than 100% cartel destabilization, you will get an ending where you capture El Sueño, and long story short, Bowman gets a phone call and gets told, hey, this guy has diplomatic immunity, he cannot be touched, please stop your mission's over. And El Sueño pushes a little bit too far, calls her a chauffeur, and says, take me to your superiors, and Bowman kills him. And then basically roll end cinematics. Bowman goes to prison, probably for life, because she just killed someone with diplomatic immunity. You know, the standard fare. But, you know, she did what she felt was right. She killed the person who tortured and, you know, basically screwed over an entire country. I'm pretty fine with that, honestly. That seems like a good ending. That's what should happen. And the good ending, the one that is most likely going to be canon, I would assume, is the one where he just gets taken away, and it's like, okay, you know what, no, I'm going to do my job right, is what Bowman says, and she's going to take him away to her superiors, and, you know, that's it. El Sueño then gets taken into effectively protective custody. He gives them a bunch of information about the cartels and the other crime groups, basically, that he knows of, and helps them catch him, or helps the Americans catch them, kill them, whatever. Okay, fine, that's probably what would happen. Doesn't feel good, but it's probably what would happen in the real world, let's be honest. But in Bowman's debriefing, she then basically says that what she expects is going to happen is that he's going to be either let go when he runs out of people to give up, or he's going to be extradited and taken to Mexico prisons, and then probably just conveniently escape in an unguarded truck, which then leads him to going off to, you know, somewhere in Europe, meeting up with some people, getting some security, heading over back to the Americas, or Brazil, I think it was in particular. And yeah, just basically starting it all up again, start a new cartel with more security, and, you know, go into all the drugs, not just cocaine this time. And yeah, I mean, I guess that kind of sets up a good, you know, second chapter to the story, a good expansion, or DLC as the case might be. But it feels just not good. I don't like it at all. Maybe that's the thing where, you know, I went in with the expectation of a couple of things. I went into the ending with the expectation of the rebels are going to screw me over, because I've been getting that feeling the entire thing. They did, sort of. They basically knocked Karen out for a moment and, you know, distracted me so they can go and get El Sueño on their own. And yeah, that was it pretty much. That's the end of their story. We went in there and took over Sueño, went on with that. But I feel that they just kind of said, you know what, maybe the thing that, you know, the justice, quote unquote, you know, revenge isn't the right thing, and maybe that doesn't always happen. And that's what happens, you know, he basically turned over a bunch of people, and effectively because of that, he's likely going to just get let go in the future, because, you know what, you just gave us a bunch of information. Bye, we don't need you anymore, now you've got all this information for us. I feel that's kind of just the thing where, you know, it's what would probably happen, and it's not necessarily the right thing, but that's the realistic thing for what would happen. I don't know. But I'm interested to know what you guys think on that one there, because I felt... I don't know. This is the thing, I've not had a chance to talk to anyone about it, so I really don't know if this is just me that feels that way about it. But, again, I just don't like it. I understand it, I understand the reason for it, but yeah, it leaves me with a bad taste in my mouth, especially after, you know, almost 2 full days of time devoted to that game in 5 days. Oh dear. But other than that, I have a short clip that I've got from one of the Kingslayer files that I also want to play, because I don't know if anyone's gonna. Well, I know people are gonna have seen it. Like, it's not just me who's gonna have found this. It's not exactly him, but it's the Ricky Sandoval confession tape, which I find interesting. And since we are talking spoilers now, I thought I'd put that in there as well, just so we can kind of get all the spoilers out of the way in one video. But yeah, have a listen to that, and yeah. Other than that, guys, that's gonna be the end of it. Again, I've really enjoyed the game. I would recommend it if you are kind of interested in the open world games and the open world setting. So, yeah, as far as I'm concerned, Ghost Recon, solid game. Definitely, I'd say worth a purchase currently. If you are a little burned out on open world games, pick it up. You know, when it's on discount later in line, or if there's a new expansion that comes out, pick it up then. Probably is a good time to jump in, I would say. But for the moment, definitely enough content there for the current price point, I would say. But with that, guys, like I said to everyone else before the spoilers, please make sure you leave a comment down below. Tell me what you think of the endings there. Make sure you leave a like on the video if you did like it. If you didn't, put a dislike on the video as well. I'm happy enough to get anything for that. Any kind of feedback is always appreciated. Subscribe to the videos and to the channel if you want to see more of the videos. But after that, guys, I will see you all next time.
You're going to die, Ricky. Even if Yuri and Bolito stop. If they stop giving you pain right at this moment, you'd still die.
Yeah, I figured as much.
We already know the truth, but I want to know why. Tell me, Ricky. Then I promise I will make the pain go away.
All right, Hefe. It's a little too late for my confession to do you any good, so let's chalk this up to professional courtesy. It was me. I blew up the embassy in La Paz.
You blew up the U.S. Embassy in La Paz?
Yeah. And it wasn't some DEA or CIA false flag bullshit. The rebels helped with the op, but it was me.
Why bomb your own embassy?
I had no choice. My bosses were gonna pull me out of Bolivia. No one gave a shit about what you were doing down here. No one wanted to commit any resources to stopping you assholes. I needed them to pay attention. And for that, I needed the theater. And people don't pay attention at the theater unless somebody dies.